Welcome to the Point Noted podcast with your host, Johnny B, and co-host who shows up whenever he wants to, former NFL player Rashad Barksdale. It's raw, unfiltered, and no topic is off limit. We talk sports, entertainment, culture, and a whole lot of random shit. Let's get to the point.
Okay, Point Noted podcast. You're hanging out with your host, Johnny B. And today we have NASCAR reporter on the show, Bob Pockrass. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing great, Johnny. How are you?
Very well, very well. So we had a little technical difficulty, but it sounds perfect right now. I don't want to jinx it, so I got to knock on wood, right?
Let's just keep going.
Let's just keep going, right? I just keep
like a
going.
NASCAR, just keep going and going.
Keep going and going. Don't even worry about stopping. I have a lot of questions for you about NASCAR. So I remember watching for the first time I seen it. I think I was a teenager when I saw it on TV. And like probably everybody else is ignorant to the sport. My first thought, why is this? Why are people there watching cars just going in circles and just like, and then it didn't make any sense to me. Like, how do you win? If somebody's already in front, you're not going to get it. Because it seems like no one ever passes each other if you watch it sometimes. On TV. Like, did you ever get those like guys you're telling you like, I don't understand why are they watching?
No, man, you get the only thing more boring than driving around in circles is watching people drive around in circles, right?
Right.
That's but the thing about NASCAR is that in some ways it's a soap opera that masquerades as a sport. Because once you start knowing who the kind of the good guys are and who are the kind of the rougher drivers and the drivers who are trying to drive to save their jobs and who's about to get hired and who's about to get fired. And if you're into cars, you might be into, Chevrolets or into Fords and who's driving those. So it takes a while to sometimes kind of get used to sport or kind of find out, kind of figure out who you want to root for. It's not like it's not like you're growing up with a hometown team that everybody around you is rooting for the same group of players.
Right. Okay. So now that makes sense. So then when we're talking about the cars, because you're either rooting for the driver and then you're rooting for the car, is there like a better car to have? Like, because I would think, obviously, they all have to have the same type of, they all have the same requirements, right? Like your car cannot be able to go 60 miles an hour in 5 seconds. Another car is only doing it in 2 seconds. Like, that doesn't seem fair, right? So, what makes the cars better?
Well, they're close to being the same, but like each manufacturer, their body style is just a little bit different. And so like when they test them in what's called a wind tunnel, the numbers are kind of the same, but they still may react a little bit different. And so that can create a difference. Then also there's about 4 or 5 different engine builders and they can work with some different parts and pieces that can make their engines a little bit better. And sometimes your engine may be better in a certain situation, but not as good in another situation.
Yeah, and I heard there's literally nothing besides the driver's seat in the race car. Have you been in one? What does it look like on the inside?
Yeah, it's pretty much a driver's seat, and then a lot of tubing and piping. As far as like a cage to keep the driver safe.
Right.
The driver actually. The pro drivers have seats that are kind of molded to them, like inserts that they put inside the seat itself. So it's very form fitting. But it's, they do have a digital dashboard that they're required to have. So maybe it looks a little bit, maybe like some passenger cars, but beyond that, they do have fuel injection and some power steering, but beyond that, not too similar.
Wow. And currently you are in Harlem, but you report on NASCAR. Are you from New York?
Originally my family is, but my wife works up in the city. And so, in quote unquote normal times, there's planes and be flying back and forth to all the races.
Nice. How'd you get into NASCAR? How'd you get into racing?
My first job was in Daytona Beach, Florida. And if you know anything about Daytona Beach, it's in the Daytona 500.
Right.
And so that I'm a sports writer down there, covering a lot of high schools and colleges there, and also was doing some NASCAR. I'm from Indianapolis originally, so I have a little bit of auto racing in my. Well, I guess I moved there when I was 10, but I was there long enough to have it.
Right, to be a hometown, right.
Exactly. To have a little bit of racing in my blood.
Right, Naptown, always. Shout out to all my Naptown fans out there. I drove from New York to Indy to go see my mother. So it's about 11 hours drive. So I was just there 2-3 weeks ago. And then there's a week after I came back, the number went up with the COVID numbers started spiking up, and now everybody has to wear a mask. So in a way, I'm kind of glad I went when it was low, because when I was there, no one was really wearing masks. I got a chance to go to the gym because the gyms are not open in New York, so I got a chance to go to the gym up there, and they were open. Like, half of the people in there had masks on, the other half didn't really have anything on. So it was kind of sad to hear a week after all of that, the numbers went back up again. So shout out to that town. Right.
Yeah. Well, it's hopefully all the areas that have growing numbers they can wear masks, and hopefully, get it under control. It's
supposedly there's a vaccination now out there that has been close to being pushed out. I'm not sure if you heard about that. I think they said the U.S. government has ordered to pay about $1.9 billion to Pfizer to make some vaccination available for us. But we're only getting 100 million, and I know we have over 500 million people, so I'm not sure how we're gonna actually distribute those medicine.
Yeah, it'll be and the question will be, if you've had the virus, do can you get it again? And will people say, well, if you've had the virus, should they not get the vaccine first? I don't want to be the one making that decision.
Oh, I'll say right now, you shouldn't. If you've had it and you didn't die, you're good, my man. You're good. You can wait for the next round. Come on, you're good for the next round. Get out of the line. Let somebody else take the vaccination. Sit down somewhere and drink some more tea. So yeah, jumping back in here into NASCAR. You mentioned obviously it's not state by state and all of that. And being from Indiana, the Indy 500, is that the biggest race?
The Indy 500, which is not NASCAR, but the Indy cars is, I view it as the biggest race in the world. Right. NASCAR does race at Indianapolis as well.
Brickyard, right? That's the Brickyard.
Yeah, the Brickyard.
The Brickyard. Okay. So is Daytona the biggest one for NASCAR?
It is. It is. Because I think I would say because of the history, and also because it pays about 2 to 3 times more than any of the others.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. That I can understand. Well, if you pay that much money, is there a lot of crashes that happen?
A lot of crashes happen at Daytona just because of the way the way they race there. They race in those packs. Just kind of the way the track is built with the banking. They all are able to run right up against each other, and so when one gets out of when one gets loose or gets spun around, it tends to collect 4, 5, 6 others.
Right. So prior to COVID and you covering NASCAR, did you get a chance to go to pretty much all the games all the racing that you're covering, or were you just able to just cover something this? Obviously now with COVID, you have to do from distance.
Right. Yeah. No. Before I was going to, virtually every race, maybe miss a few each year. I think last year I missed one. Okay. So it's going to all of them. But since COVID, I went to the 2 races at Pocono, and there's no reporter access except for the pit reporter during the broadcast. So the reporters are required to stay in the press box. So you're just pretty much sitting there, and then you're on the Zoom call like you would be at home afterward.
Like we're doing now. We're on Zoom.
That's right.
So what's the biggest difference though? Having to do your coverage from home compared to being at the press box. I've been at the press box before for the Yankees. covering the soccer game. And listen, the best part, and I'm gonna say this right now, the best part of covering the soccer game at Yankee Stadium was the press, the media, the lunch, the food that they had. It was amazing. I know it's terrible for me to think that was the best thing, but that was. I thought they had an excellent choice of food for all the media members that were there. Like, do you get that? Or you go somewhere and be like,
well, the food varies from place to place, and I eat close to a vegan diet, so I'm often bringing my food. But I would say the difference is that, you know, even if you're in the press box for you know, for like a soccer game, you know, maybe you would see a couple of team executives up there, or
Right.
you'd run into people who can give you information. And
Right.
literally, you know, when you're sitting in the press box, there's, you know, all the NASCAR officials, you know, one stopped in for 1 minute, but, you know, they're supposed to be trying to stay in their little separate section. You know, they're trying not to have any sort of interaction with, you know, people that they're not supposed to. And so I think the biggest challenge from a media standpoint is just being able to talk to people. You know, normally in NASCAR, I would have access to walk around the garages and talk to crew members as they, you know, if they were on a break or if they were waiting for somebody to get something else done with the car. And now you don't have that. So you don't have the ability to, you know, see things firsthand, as well as, you know, maybe get the insight that you feel like you need. I'm sure that'll happen in, you know, many other sports too, where especially the ones without bubbles, where, you know, the reporters are pretty much kept away from the athletes the entire time. There's just no interaction to really get an idea of how kind of things are going.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's definitely tough. I was just looking at the NBA games on TV, and they have the players sitting 6 feet apart. You know, the coaches are sitting 6 feet apart. And I understand, you know, the optics of it, right? What it looks like on TV. But when I look at that, you know, I'm thinking, but these same players are out there smacking each other, you know, they're breathing on each other. I mean, it's basketball. It's a contact the whole time. So what's the point of really sitting out there and keeping 6 feet apart when you got to go out in the court and you being all over each other? Like, I get the optic, but for me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I would guess you're trying to prevent it when you can, but know that there's certain parts of the game that that obviously it's you know, that wearing masks just wouldn't be, and staying 6 feet apart isn't you know, just can't happen. And
Right.
that's where NASCAR has its advantage, right? The drivers are all in their cars and they're in these fireproof uniforms and in helmets. They're some of the best protected people out there.
Yeah, and speaking of the NASCAR drivers, the uniforms, man, they are in the car for about 3 to 4 hours for each race. And I understand they got to drink a lot of water just to stay hydrated before they jump in the car. And there's rumors out there that saying some of them actually do wear diapers to race. Is that true? Like, what's going on?
That's true. There are a few who have used diapers. Just, you know, some will just go in their suit, you know, but some prefer there are a couple who have preferred to wear diapers. Just, you know, I guess it's just a comfort thing, right? But yeah, they're drinking a lot of water. A lot of them now are wearing these shirts. They're called cool shirts, where there's actually cold water flowing through the shirt.
Okay.
To try to keep themselves cool during a race. Right. And then they also have air blowing through their helmets.
Right. If you have to drive 4 or 5 hours and you can't use the restroom, what are you doing? Are you going on yourself, or you wearing a diaper?
Me, I'm gonna try to hold it under. That'd be me. I guess maybe the first time you do it, and then you decide that probably help your decision. But since I've never done it, I'd say I'm gonna
hold it out.
I'm gonna hope that I can sweat it out.
That's actually an interesting one, though. But I do wonder what the number is of the drivers that actually do wear diapers. So eventually,
I would say it's just a couple from the one side.
All right. I mean, I don't think there's any shame in that at all. I mean, hey, I get it. You gotta do
I
what you
mean,
have to do.
whatever allows you to perform the best, right?
Exactly. And it's about
That would
winning,
be
right?
right. If you're staying victory lane, if you're wearing a diaper or not, if you're in victory lane.
Hey, wear it some more. Wear it every time. It might be a lucky charm. So right now, I know you mentioned earlier about supporting drivers just based on the personality out. And NASCAR is really more about personality and the drama that's that surround teams and players. So right now, who is the most hated driver?
I would say the most hated driver is probably Kyle Busch, because he's loved or hated, but I would say as far as fans go, he's probably the most hated one, because he's talented, he races a lot, he wins a lot of the NASCAR you can run in like some of like what would be considered like AAA and AA, and he runs some of those races and wins, and people don't like it. But he's the guy who they asked him how he took a wrecked car and finished the fourth the other day, and his answer was KFB, and his name is Kyle Busch. So you can figure what the first and last were, and I assume you can figure out what the F in the middle means.
Okay,
so.
Kyle fucking Busch, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, my man, I like that swagger. But listen, so how come you can run, in the Cup Series, which is the top series, I believe, and then you can go run in the minor leagues or the junior leagues and still do that and over again? Shouldn't there be a limit of how many races you can run if you go down there?
There is now. The limit is, I think, for anybody with more than 3 years in the big leagues, it's if you're not full time and going back in the minors per se, then you're limited to 5 races.
Do you think that's enough, or is that too much?
I'm mixed. I would prefer that maybe you be allowed to run more if that car runs the rest of the year with a young driver. Like,
Okay.
So if you can encourage a sponsor to say, hey, give us a little extra money, this guy from the big leagues will run 8-10 races, but you've got to support this young guy for the other 23 races, then I think I think that's okay, because you want to be able to boost a young driver and connect them with a sponsor as well.
Okay, so in the minor leagues, we'll call it that, or the D League, is there enough sponsors there to actually get the little guys to get up to the top series, or somebody from the Cup Series, the teams from there, needs to come down there and start pushing drivers? How does that work?
It's a mix. There's young drivers who are so good that some of the big teams, have teams in these development minor leagues, and they help find sponsors for them. But there's also a certain number of drivers who it's kind of pay to play. If a driver can find a sponsor, either through family or through friends, or is maybe good enough locally that somebody wants to support them, they can bring a sponsor and say, hey, I want. They pretty much go to any team depending on the amount of money they have.
Interesting. Can you find a local team? Pretty much every state, or is there a certain state where you need to be if you want to be a NASCAR race car driver?
Virtually every team is based in North Carolina, in the Charlotte area. There's some across the border in South Carolina. There's a few in what's called the Truck Series, which is kind of the AA, that are, there's one team in Georgia, and a couple others outside of the Carolinas, but there's one team in Ohio, but mostly they're based in the Charlotte area.
Okay, so then once you start getting into driving and you decide that you want to be a race car driver, you really need to move to one of those states.
You pretty much, if you want to ride, you're going to have to move to North Carolina.
North Carolina is where it is. What's the race out there? What's the top one out there? We have the Daytona in Florida. We have the Brickyard in Indy. What's the race out there in North Carolina?
The biggest North Carolina race would be the World 600, the 600-mile race. That's typically a Memorial Day weekend. Typically after, it usually comes on a couple hours after the Indianapolis 500.
600 miles?
Yeah, it's a long race. A little over 4 hours.
How long does that take? That's it? Over 4 hours? Well, I guess if
yeah.
you're going 200 some miles per hour, it shouldn't take you more than 5 hours, huh?
Yeah, it's a little shorter than 5 hours. Usually, it's about 4:15 to 4.5. It's a long race. They only do one 600-mile race. Thank goodness.
Wow. 600 miles. I think driving from New York to Indianapolis was about 600 and something miles. So, and I think that took me 10 to 11 hours.
Yeah, and depending on.
And I wasn't driving speed limit either.
Yeah.
I had to
And
hit
you
the
stopped to
gas.
go to the bathroom. You didn't need a diaper.
Right. No diaper. I had to stop at least 3 times, get gas, use the restroom, get something to eat, get some energy drink, so a little bit of that. But man, 600 miles, that's a lot of unwinding circles to do. Have you ever drove one before? You ever had a chance to get one of those NASCAR cars?
I mean, I've ridden, like, there's some that are like 2-seaters, like where they can give you rides around to kind of get the feel, but I've never driven one. Those who can't ride.
Man. So if Kyle Busch is the most hated, and I know he has a brother, right? Was it Kurt? Okay, Kurt. So if Kyle is the most hated driver, who's the most loved ones? Who does everybody just love to be on that team, just to root for? I think back then it used to be Jimmy Johnson and Jeff
Yeah,
Gordon.
I mean, well, it's like Dale Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Right.
was the biggest one. I would say it's probably Chase Elliott. He's the son of a NASCAR Hall of Famer, Bill Elliott.
Bill Elliott, right.
And he's kind of the most popular guy. Jimmy, it's his last full-time year. I think that makes people like him more, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because even if you didn't like him before, he hasn't won in like 110 races. So he'd win, and even people who didn't like him would probably still be a little bit happy. Just hey, in your final year.
So what happened there, though? Like, because in soccer or basketball, even baseball, we say father's time, and you can see the slowness and just reaction time. But so what happened there? Because there was a point where Jimmy was winning pretty much everything. It might have been 5 years ago. Where he was winning.
He won 5 straight titles from 2016 to 2010, and he won 2 more. In the first, I think 2013 and 2016, and or 2012 and 2016, and 2013, 16. But it's funny. I asked him once. I said, he's so good. He's so good at driving a car that's loose, which means like when you want to turn it, that it wants to spin out. And I was like, man, you're so good at that. I go, maybe since you're just a little bit older, have you just lost, that just little bit of edge that you need?
Right.
And, he looked at me like I had 2 heads. But, I think drivers go through. The thing is that they often say that there's a guy David Smith, who really does analytics, and he says he sees that drivers are their best like in their late 30s because it just takes so long to drive smartly, to not to know exactly where the line is. But I think Jimmy has. I mean, I think he's a great talent still, but I think he has just his I want to say it's his reflexes, but just his innate sense. I think it's just his innate sense of driving these cars on the edge. He's just lost a little bit of it, and that's and that just happens. It happens when he's in his mid-40s.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So he's getting up there. So who's the best driver right now?
It's a great question. I would say the best driver right now is Kevin Harvick. He's in his 40s, but he's been winning a lot, and he's just when he has the best car underneath him, he seems like he's just so hard to beat. Just so hard. They kind of nicknamed him the closer because at end of races he would come on and win, but now he's just when he has it dialed in, it's hard to see anybody beating him.
So and that's another thing for me is when you say somebody has the best car, because if we're competing and you have the best car, I want to get that same car. Whatever it is that's in your car, can we get it on my team?
Yeah, yes and no. Like Kevin Harvick has 3 teammates, but none of them are running as good as he is, because
I
it's
see.
what one driver can do. One driver might be
Right.
able to get on the gas earlier and coming out of the turn and
Right.
be able to go faster that way. Another driver might be able to kind of flutter the pedal and get through the turn better, and it's depending on how the car is set up. So
Right.
it's it might, in very some ways you could say it's the 70% car, but there's still 30%
Skills.
driver and skills and getting the
Right.
driver to to get the car where it fits the driver's needs. There's a guy named Denny Hamlin. He's been winning a lot of races lately. In some way, I would say it's because of, NASCAR's always changing like the height of like the rear spoiler, which affects the amount of downforce.
Right.
Right now, it's at it's in an amount that really suits Denny Hamlin's style, and he's winning a lot of races. But it can be something as simple as that. Jeff Gordon was great, and then all of a sudden they changed the tires a little bit, and he and he went into a slump back in the early 2000s. All that kind of stuff can change the driver's performance.
Yeah, and you always wonder why are they making these changes though? Why are they making these changes? Because if I'm Jeff Gordon, I'm pretty upset about that. I mean, that just cost me a lot of money.
I think I think they're trying to either even the field or trying to make it less money for the teams to spend in some ways. But whenever there's a rules change, that's the hard part. You ask drivers to say, "Hey, do you want this rule to be changed, or do you want this technical rule as far as the cars changed?" And you never know if they're telling you yes or no based on if it'll benefit them or whether it'll benefit the racing as a whole.
Right. Oh, interesting. If you can have 10 drivers from any time till now, just race 10 of them, who would you want to see race?
I'd want to see AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Richard Petty, David Pearson, Junior Johnson, Jeff Gordon. Junior Johnson was long. He was a moonshiner, and and then had a great NASCAR career, and then was great as owner. Then let's see. I think I got 2 more. I would say Dale Earnhardt, Senior.
Okay.
And man. Well, I think I got one more. I would go with Dale Earnhardt Jr. just because he's so, especially later in his career, he's just so personable and just so and a character that I think it'd be fun to have him out there and seeing what he could do.
So you want to see him out there just because he's a nice guy?
He's a nice guy, and he has talent, and he's, he keep it real.
I feel like Junior finished a lot of races, top 5, top 10 maybe, but I feel like he didn't actually win a whole lot. Am I wrong? He didn't win a whole?
He won about, I want to say, 26 races in his career. They came in bunches, a lot on tracks like Daytona and Talladega. Okay. But, I mean, he had his slumps. Obviously he battled concussions there late in his career.
Right. Yep.
But he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay. And it'd be hard to, you can't argue that based on what he did for the sport after his father died. But right. I think he would have been in the Hall of Fame based on his performance stats. Maybe not as a first ballot Hall of Famer, but eventually
would have been there. Mm-hmm. Was he racing when his dad was also racing? Was he in the big league?
He finished. He finished. He finished third in the race. He finished second in the race where his father was killed.
Oh, wait, the one that his father was killed?
Mm-hmm. He finished second. He was finishing second. He finished second, and there's a lot of so Michael Waltrip finished first. Dale Jr. finished second. They both actually raced on a team by his father. His father was racing for a owner named Richard Childress, and there's a lot of people who believe that his dad was blocking for him, for his two cars to win that race when the crash happened.
Oh wow! You believe it? You buying that?
I think he was blocking to get the best finish he could for himself.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that you'll never know. But a lot of people do believe that he was certainly making sure that his kid and that his drivers, because he probably didn't have a chance to win because of where he was at the time, was probably making sure nobody else could pass him and get to them.
Wow. No, that's Papa's love right there, man. That's when you know your daddy truly loved you, right? Wow. So Bob, when you're not watching racing and doing all of that, what else are you watching? What other sports actually grab your attention on TV?
College sports and basketball and basketball. I think that there's nothing. Basketball is just a great game. Like if you just sit and watch, if you sit and watch the center, and then watch and the kind of then sit back and watch how everything works around it.
Right.
I love that in basketball. Football is a game. If you're a reporter and you go to those games, it's so fast and so brutal that it's incredible to watch.
Wow, yeah, I think I've been to one NFL games, but I make sure I get to a couple of basketball games every year. Usually, I just drive down to Boston and watch a good Celtics matchup. Just better for my money than Madison Square Garden seems to be charging arms or legs to go up there. Have you been to the Garden?
I've been to the Garden. I haven't actually. I went to a Rangers game a couple year or two ago.
Okay.
But I don't think I've been. I've only been full time in New York for a little over a year, and I never haven't gotten to a Knicks game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just being down in the city, obviously, it's good enough compared to us upstate. So, who's the best basketball player right now?
Man. I mean, do you say LeBron or is he no longer?
Yeah, you're active right now. Okay,
so
how about we just say, give me your top 5 right now, guys that are playing basketball.
My top 5 would be LeBron,
right?
Giannis. Is that the way I pronounce it? Yeah, I mean, Giannis I'd say the Greek Freak, but
hey, that's all right. It is the Greek.
Can I say that?
Actually,
right.
Yeah, you can. He actually came out and said he loves that nickname.
All right. James Harden.
James Harden, that's right.
What
else you got?
Would you say Kawhi Leonard?
Kawhi, absolutely. That's a being.
All right, and then who would be my 5th?
Who's the guy?
Like Rondo when he's healthy.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not even top 50. Don't do that.
Okay.
I'm
trying to think of. I spent a lot of time in Charlotte. Who's the guy from Charlotte who just left last year?
Kemba.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not in there.
He's not. You wouldn't consider him in there?
No, not. Maybe top 20. Maybe top 25.
All right.
Yeah, but I think you're on the right path with some of the guys you have, though. I'll throw some more names out there at you that you can put in there. Healthy KD, right? Healthy Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Healthy Steph Curry.
The healthy Steph Curry. Yep. Gosh, how can I forget Steph?
Right.
He's another North Carolina guy who.
Exactly.
It's probably why I put it down. When you're in North Carolina, then the Steph Curry love is amazing.
Right.
So, Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Steph is in there. But I think after that, then you just kind of have a toss-up between Jokic from Denver, Russell Westbrook. You
You put
got
Kyrie in there?
Kyrie's not in my top 10.
Okay.
No, but Jokic is in there. I think you have to put Russell Westbrook in there. Anthony Davis, right? Plays with
Yeah.
LeBron.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So that would probably be my 9 or my 10 right there. And then probably Embiid from Philly. Just got to get a little tougher. But I think he has the talent to be in there. And then Paul George is in there somewhere, either between 9 and 11, I think. Then you got Damian Lillard, and then you can start throwing Jason Tatum, Kyrie, and all that boys in there. But, I definitely think healthy KD, in my opinion, is the best player in the league when he's healthy. And then I'll probably put Giannis number 2. And then LeBron and Kawhi will follow. So it's because I don't think you can stop KD when he's healthy. I've seen it. No one can. Yeah. So beautiful sport.
Can we just bring Allen Iverson back?
Oh my goodness, you a big AI fan?
I do. Yeah. Just
little man, big heart.
Yeah. You could watch him. I could watch him all day.
It was worth the money. Absolutely. So. AI was worth the money. The only guy living in Indiana and being a Pacers fan, the only guy that I know when it comes to town, we are going to lose. I just felt it like we couldn't stop him. It wasn't Travis Best. It wasn't Reggie. No one could stop him. I was just like, AI is coming in town. Pacers are going to lose. Forget it. Forget it. Yep. Hey, Bob.
where does Sabonis, since you're being...
Which Sabonis? The Pacers Sabonis?
Yeah.
It's not in there yet. Somewhere.
He's not in there yet. Okay.
Not yet. I think another year like you have this year, that will push him in there.
All right.
Even though he made an all-star game, I don't think that necessarily, it's just you having a great year. So once you do it again, but I think it will. So I expect him to probably crack that top 20 next year. Anyway, but that kid is fabulous, though. I love watching him play. The Pacers got a good one there. They just got to figure out how to make that team work with Oladipo and all of that. Another IU Hoosier. Right. So
that's right.
Yeah, but hey, Bob, thanks for taking the time out tonight, man. I appreciate you coming on and just chatting with me.
All right, Johnny. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out to have me on.
Absolutely, man. I think there's a race tomorrow, right? Is it a truck series or a NASCAR?
Yeah, no, cup race tomorrow night, Thursday night at Kansas.
Okay, so that means all the big boys are running.
The big guys are running on a Thursday night. They're using the pandemic to kind of see if any of these weeknight races with the stars resonate, and
it's great. It's working for UFC. It's great.
So they're going to see. Granted, I think you got some baseball on tomorrow night, but I think it'll still give them a good gauge.
Right. I'll tired of the guys after a race that they can do it again the next day or in 2 days. They can do that, right?
They can. They've been running a lot more because of COVID, the rescheduling. Right. They ran in Texas last week. They would never normally run in Texas in July.
Okay.
Right. So it's been they typically after the long 400, 500 mile races, they need a couple. They could use a couple of days. It's not that they couldn't go, but the thing is that like a track like they're going to be doing back-to-back races, 300-mile races in Dover, Delaware, and that's a 1 mile concrete high bank track, and that'll be more wear and tear on their body than like a 400 or 500 mile race, even in a little bit of heat, just because of the G forces that they're pulling throughout the entire race.
Okay. Oh, okay. That makes sense then. All right. But as fans, especially with nothing else to watch on TV at nighttime, I think we love it. That's the reason why UFC has been blowing up too. Everybody's at home, nothing to watch, and we all just sitting there just watching guys fight. It's the same thing with the racing thing. It's on TV now. Thursdays. I think it was Wednesday and Thursdays, or just Saturday and Sundays. And I've been paying more attention, partly because of fantasy, but partly because I'm using my money on FanDuel. So I was like, hey, that guy Kevin Harvick is always winning, so let me get him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot more people are watching because they got some coin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I started watching baseball, fantasy leagues. And then now I can tell you what those pitching numbers means and the counts. And prior to that, I have no idea who these guys were. But once I started putting money into it, I had to learn the game. So, sometimes you just got to take a little risk to learn something.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Hey, man, thanks for coming to the show. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Johnny.
Absolutely. Oh, before you leave, so who you picking to win against tomorrow?
Who am I picking to win tomorrow? It's they're in Kansas. You know what? Kyle Busch has been running better lately. I'm gonna go pick Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch. Okay. All right. We got it on record. Kyle Busch. Bob is picking Kyle for the race tomorrow in Kansas. Bob, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good night. We'll do it again soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Point Noted Podcast with Johnny B and Rashad B. Follow us on Twitter @PTNoted and Instagram @PointNoted. Hit the subscribe and follow button to follow us and check out more episodes of us talking a whole bunch of shit. You've been noted.